Hi, Wilson students. This is Mrs. Davis. Today I'm going to be reading to you the story Matthew Henson. You can see it's a graphic novel, and this is going to be an informational text. So, as we read informational text, we want to practice gathering up the facts as we read. So, when we read and we come to an important detail, we want to take it and jot it down on a piece of paper. So, in 1878, 12-year-old Matthew Henson was on his own. He lived and worked at a restaurant in Washington, D.C. That fall, he grew bored of cooking and washing dishes, so he walked 40 miles to the shipping docks in Baltimore, Maryland. There, he approached a gruff old captain in hopes of finding more adventurous work. "Sir, is this your ship?" "That she is, son. Do you need a cabin boy? I'd like to go to sea with you." "What do you think your folks would say about you going to sea on the Katie Hines?" "My mother and father are dead." "Oh, that's sad." "All right, come aboard, son." In the late 1800s, African Americans had few rights and few good paying jobs. Captain Childs knew that this tired young man would never have a chance at a better life if he didn't help. Henson quickly learned that life aboard a ship was filled with adventure. "Better wash them pots faster, boy." So I'm going to write down 1878. Went on a ship to work. Almost fits in my teardrop. When Henson wasn't working, Captain Childs kept him busy with other tasks. "I'm going to teach you to read every last one of these." Childs taught Henson about history, geography, and navigation. Whoa, that's a lot of books. But there was one lesson that Henson learned on his own. "Get out of my way. I never liked you." One sailor started a fight with young Henson because he was black. Well, that is completely wrong. In 1883, Captain Childs died. "I've been at sea for 5 years. Without Captain Childs, it's time to move on." Now 17, Henson searched for a new job. He soon learned that his experiences and skills wouldn't help him find a good job. He was hired only for difficult, low-paying jobs. He loaded heavy crates onto ships in Boston, Massachusetts. In Providence, Rhode Island, he worked as a bellhop at a hotel. And he had a back-breaking job digging ditches in Buffalo, New York. He worked very hard in lots of different things. Then Henson moved back to Washington, D.C. When he was 21, he got a job at a hat and fur store. "Matt, bring a size 7 3/8 sun helmet." "Can I help you with anything else, Mr. Peary?" "I'm leaving for Central America soon and need to hire a valet." Lieutenant Robert Peary worked as an engineer with the U.S. Navy, and he had been assigned survey work in Central America. Maybe Matt would like, "Sir, I'd like the job very much." So he's going to go on a ship again. A few months later, Henson sailed to Nicaragua with Peary. Besides taking care of Peary's personal needs, Henson helped build Peary's headquarters. Whoa, he built that whole house? "Matt, you're a good carpenter. What else can you do?" "I've studied navigation and geography. Maybe I could help on one of the survey crews." "Hold that chain steady, Henson. These bugs are eating me alive, but this is better than washing Peary's clothes." Whoa, he's got bugs all over him. I think I should write down 21. Went to Nicaragua. On a ship. Chapter 2, Peary's Dream. In 1888, Peary returned to the United States. Peary worked at a League Island and Navy Yard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Wow, he's lived a lot of places. One day, Peary called Henson into his office. "I'm going to explore the Arctic. I'd like you to come along. But what is there for me to do? I'm not a scientist. Build sledges, hunt, drive a dog team, make cook stoves, sledge supplies through the torrents of ice and snow. Sounds like a great adventure. He is just willing to go anywhere. He is very brave and adventurous. Temperatures in the Arctic reach minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. People often lost toes and fingers to frostbite. Some people thought an African American could not handle the cold weather. You're a Negro boy. You don't belong in that cold climate. I'll be sure to dress warm, Lieutenant Skeptek. If you come back without any fingers or toes off, I'll pay you $100. So in 1891, Henson sailed with Perry and a small crew to Greenland. Henson built sledges for hauling supplies over ice and snow. Nails become brittle and break in this Arctic weather. You'll have to use walrus hide to hold the sledge together. Walrus hide to hold the sledge together because you can't use nails. It's that cold. So I'm going to write 1891 went to Greenland. Greenland is not green. It is actually icy. Shortly after the arrival, an Inuit family visited Perry's camp. Everyone was surprised at the Inuits' reaction to Henson. Inuit! Inuit! The Native Americans thought that Henson was Native American. The Inuit thought Henson was a lost member of their people because of his dark skin. During the trip, the Inuit taught Henson and Perry important skills. The Inuit taught them how to build igloos, how to hunt musk ox and polar bear, how to drive a sledge. How to hunt a polar bear and a musk ox. Ooh. Early Arctic explorers thought the Inuit, like African Americans, were inferior to whites. Henson treated them as equals and befriended them. The Arctic's harsh weather and icy terrain have killed many explorers. They didn't earn the trust of the Inuit. I want to be the first person to stand on top of the world. Well, the Inuit can help us get there. With their help, the people shall discover the pole. Because he's not racist, he's going to get there first. In 1892, Henson and the rest of Peary's party returned to the United States. Shortly afterwards, Henson saw Lieutenant Skeptek. You see, my fingers are all here. I never thought you had a chance of winning this. You earned $100 just because he didn't lose any toes or fingers to frostbite. Between 1893 and 1906, Henson and Perry returned to the Arctic 5 times. Each time they failed to reach the North Pole. Henson had to find work between the trips. One job he found was a porter for the New York Central Railroad. Watch your step, ma'am. He helped the people on and off the train. Henson enjoyed the job. It allowed him to see different parts of the United States. Hey, Durkee, we don't want your kind around here. In the Arctic, I'm respected for my skills. Here, I'm just another black man. It's like I live in 2 different worlds. I think we need to write down that he went to the Arctic 5 times. Went to Arctic 5 times. That's a lot of trips to the Arctic. Chapter 3, The North Pole. Peary had a ship, the Roosevelt, built for his Arctic trips. The ship's powerful engines and sturdy hull allowed it to cut through icy waters. In 1908, Henson was age 42. He left with Peary for another try to reach the North Pole. They stopped at the Inuit village of Etah, Greenland, and they traded for furs and sled dogs. They also hired Inuit to help them on their trip. Mari Palak, Ainenuk Hune. I'm doing well, my friends. He even learned to understand the Inuit language. The Inuit called Henson Mari Palak, which meant Matthew the Kind One, or Big Matthew. Oh. The Roosevelt fought its way past huge icebergs and through icy waterways. In September, it reached Ellesmere Island off the northwestern coast of Greenland. There, it became locked in the ice. Creak! So Henson began sledging supplies to Cape Columbia, the northernmost point of Ellesmere Island. The group set up camp of igloos there, and they called it Crane City. Arctic winters have very little daylight, so Peary's party didn't want to travel in darkness all the time, so they waited at Crane City until spring. During winter's long dark hours, Henson built sledges and prepared supplies. Uta helped Henson hunt the muskox. "Oh, Ming Mak, I see him, Uta." He's hunting the muskox for food. On March 1st, 1901, the 413-mile trek from Crane City to the North Pole began. Peary set up a relay system for the trip. Captain Robert Bartley's group cut a trail over the Arctic Ocean's icy terrain. Henson followed him a day later with a supporting group. Ice covering the Arctic Ocean was not smooth. Ocean currents moved the ice, and large sheets of ice would smash together and create towering pressure ridges. This pressure ridge must be 50 feet tall. Other times, the ice broke apart as it shifted and caused leads. Peary named one open stretch of water the Big Lead. "It's like half a mile wide river, Matt. There's no way around it. We'll have to wait until the temperature drops and ice forms." The Big Lead scared the Inuit. They thought it was caused by a devil named Tanusek, who wanted to swallow them in ice. "Seagloo, don't be afraid. Peary works for a devil more powerful than Tasnuk. It's called the U.S. Navy." After a 6-day wait, the ice finally froze thick enough to let them cross. Ooh, that would be so scary. 413-mile trip to the North Pole. That's a long way to travel by dogs. After 1 month, Henson and Peary were about 150 miles from the North Pole. It took them a month to go 250 miles. Wow. "Well, Bartlett, here's your team. It goes back." "Don't worry, Captain, we'll make it. Henson must go all the way. I cannot make it without him." Only Henson and 4 Inuit continued to the North Pole with Peary. After Bartlett headed back, Henson was in charge of the lead group. He, Uta, and Seagloo used pickaxes to make a trail over the rough ice. On April 5th, they were only 35 miles from the North Pole, and Henson made his way over the ice. Crack! Sploosh! "Are you okay, Mari Pulak?" "I'm okay, just get these boots off before my feet freeze." Oh no, Henson fell through the ice. Henson, Uta, and Seagloo traveled until midnight that day. They built igloos and waited for Peary, Eginwa, and Uganik to meet them. I think this is the North Pole. It was April 6, 1909. They finally made it to the North Pole. The next day, Peary took out his navigational equipment. By measuring where the sun was in the sky, he could determine how far north they were. They were at the North Pole at last. "The North Pole, we are the first to stand here." Peary took a picture of Henson and the 4 Inuit standing behind him at the North Pole. Whoa, April 6th. Oh, I'm going to flip back to city year. What was the year? 1909. Reached North Pole. After reaching their goal, Henson, Peary, and the Inuit still had a hard journey home. They celebrated by resting for 1 day. Then they headed back to Cape Columbia, reaching land 2 weeks later. So they went across. Here was the North Pole, and they went over here. Chapter 4, Peary's Colored Assistant. After returning to the United States, Henson received very little recognition. For the discovery of the North Pole, the National Geographic Society awards you a gold medal. Who's standing behind Peary? That's his colored assistant. During the years following his trip to the North Pole, Henson struggled to find a good job. He wrote to Peary several times, but Peary did not help him. The worlds were once again divided into white and black. In 1913, Henson found work parking cars in Brooklyn, New York. One day, politician Charles Anderson saw him. "This is no job for you. Look at what you have accomplished." "But I'm a Negro. Whatever I did with Peary makes no difference." "Henson, our country owes you something." So Anderson and other African American leaders helped Henson get a government job. And in 1913, Henson became a clerk for the United States Customs Bureau in New York City. And he worked there until his retirement in 1937. Wow. So 1913, got a government job as a clerk. Government job as clerk. Not even writing in sentences, I'm just jotting down notes. African American leaders also worked to get Henson the recognition he deserved. In 1937, he was invited to join the Explorers Club, and he became the club's first African American member. "Bartlett, weren't you jealous that Henson got to go with Peary to the North Pole? Henson was a better dog driver than I. Peary needed him." In 1945, Henson received a silver medal from the United States Navy. They waited a long time to give you this. They sure did. Ooh, 1945, he got a silver medal. 1945 silver medal. Matthew Henson's life was filled with hardships. At an early age, he lost his parents. He was judged by the color of his skin instead of his abilities, and he was even braving the dangers of the Arctic. Few people recognized him for his accomplishments. But on March 9th, 1955, Henson died at the age of 88. He was buried in a small cemetery in Maryland. About 30 years after his death, Henson's body was moved to Arlington National Cemetery. Many American heroes, including Peary, are buried there today. Henson receives equal recognition, and he is considered the co-discoverer of the North Pole. So it changed as our times changed. He got more recognition for the hard work that he has done. And that's it. There's just more about Matthew Henson's real life at the end. So we learned today that as we're reading a nonfiction book, we want to stop in our notebook and we want to jot down some information. That way we can remember everything that we have learned. This is an important skill that you need for life. Thank you, friends, and have a great day. Take care.